Hey, thanks for checking us out. This is Sports and Other Stuff. You can find us on Spreaker, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. We have a new episode every week. We have more than 100 in the can, so check it out. Thanks for being a part of it. Just subscribe. Thanks a million.
T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff. Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lugs.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
That's right. This is Sports and Other Stuff. We think we're all here tonight. Where are we? Men and women's March Madness now in the Sweet 16. But there's big NFL news. Matt Ryan, Deshaun Watson, Devante Adams, they're all getting new zip codes. What will happen to Baker Mayfield? And guys, Al Michaels is going to Amazon. The big question is, does he get free shipping? Maybe it's a little too early for that. Okay, take it away. NFL talk.
Well, I guess the big winner of the week, there are a couple of them, but first is Matt Ryan going to the Colts. He goes into a situation where he has a shot again at a Super Bowl, and he's a legitimate quarterback. I don't think he, is now what he once was. But with that offense, with Jonathan Taylor, it's an upgrade for both, and good for Matt Ryan getting out of Atlanta, because Atlanta is beyond a rebuild at this point. So good for Matt Ryan. That's my first take.
How about you, T-Dog?
Yeah, just building off of that one. Colts got Matt Ryan for a third-round draft pick from the Atlanta Falcons, just a third-round draft pick, which, you want to talk about a huge salvage job for the Colts after completely swinging and missing on Carson Wentz, and obviously put a lot of heat on Frank Wright because he really vouched for him, and he even apologized to the owner of the Colts, Irsay, and for them to get a quarterback who, again, I would say it's not like same to same, but he's very much like Phillip Rivers in that he's declining, but he's still a very good quarterback. He's also a pro. That's why I know Baker Mayfield wanted to go to the Colts. They just got rid of a head case. They're not going to take on another one. They needed someone who was just going to do his job well and, keep people accountable. So, it's a perfect trade for them. And also even for the Falcons, it's good because, what were they doing last year? They competed, which you can give them a lot of credit for, but they had to pull the Band-Aid off. They had little leverage, particularly when they got into the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. They put off his $7.5 million bonus to this last Monday. The problem is when Watson declined, they essentially had to trade him before 4 p.m. Eastern, before that kicked in. So, they had no leverage. So that's why they had to settle for a third round, because the Colts were smart enough that Falcons couldn't really have a lot of wiggle room to do anything. And, now the Falcons get their cap right. So it really is a big win for the Colts, particularly Matt Ryan, Chris Ballard, and Reich, for, because their jobs were definitely on shaky ground. And obviously they should compete fairly well for the AFC South this year, because I like Ryan Tannehill, but even Matt Ryan at this point of his career is a better quarterback. So he could put them over the top for the AFC South. The other two teams are still a mess. So it's going to be those two teams. And the Falcons, they'll get right for next year, 2023.
Falcons get Mariota, so that will be an interesting comeback for him. Hopefully it'll work out. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with that offensive line and no receivers really. My question or my thought about it is, where does Baker Mayfield go now? I mean, he's seen as just a disruptive force, and yet he's not talented enough to overcome that.
Isn't he seen as damaged goods, really, too? I mean, kind of his psyche and everything?
Well, with his wife tweeting, and It's just a mess. And that's the upside, the true upside for Matt Ryan is the fact that he's a professional
Well,
football
where does Baker go? Let's talk about it. Obviously, Seattle's an option, but what else?
I don't know.
There aren't that many. That's the thing. Is most you look at the musical chairs, they're done, and some of the teams are like, well, they don't have a quarterback. Well, Carolina is supposedly they really like the Pittsburgh quarterback.
Yeah.
They sent essentially their whole crew to his pro day. So Kenny Pickett might as well get ready to wear a lot of black and teal. And
that teal looks so good on most people, too, doesn't it? I mean, it's just really nice.
And then
New Orleans just re-signed Winston.
Yeah, and then two other teams who you already brought up, Seattle, and obviously this is speculated, but it sounds like both Pittsburgh from the Senior Bowl and Seattle are very infatuated with Willis, the Liberty quarterback. None of these teams are enamored with Baker. Think about it. In the Deshaun Watson trade, I mean, he was not. I don't even know if he was offered, because I'm sure the Texans were like, no, we're good. Davis Mills. And you know what? To be fair to him, maybe Davis Mills is better. I mean, I'm not trying to completely pile on Baker, but maybe Davis Mills is better, which is crazy to think because Baker was the number 1 overall pick, and I believe Davis Mills was a 3rd round pick. So
maybe Bake gets a backup job for a 1-year contract.
Or how about this? May be outside the box, but how about Detroit? No, Dan Campbell wouldn't go for him.
I don't think so. Again, the person who traded for Goff, not that Goff is the answer. I think the GM there was in the front office of the Rams. That was one of the reasons they were willing to take him on. And I think they might draft Willis or Pickett. Who knows? I mean, they have the 2nd overall pick, so they might draft one of those two guys, or they'll wait for next year with probably Stroud and Young and another talented quarterback out there. So I don't think, like I said, I think Baker, well, the first thing is Baker, like Garoppolo, why these guys haven't moved is they're not healthy. So who wants to take on, just to kind of go back to the Bears situation with Larry Ogunjobi, and obviously he'll probably recover from his foot injury, but they did the medical evaluation on him and they're like, no go. Not to say he can't heal up, but they're not going to give him that money. Who's going to give Garoppolo or Baker money while they're healing from, I think both of them at least have shoulder surgeries. So, in particular, Garoppolo's it's his throwing shoulder. Right. So it's like, who's going to
his thumb too?
Yeah. So I think that's why those guys have stayed stagnant where they are, and at least Garoppolo is liked, and all his teammates talk well of him, and I think he is a professional. So again, like that's the thing is, even if they're both healed, I think Garoppolo is more enticing than Baker.
Oh, big time.
All right, let's talk about Deshaun Watson. Kind of a controversial topic here. He's on his way. What do you guys make of that? Big contract, everything.
I wish them a lot of luck in Cleveland. They're trading one bad apple for another bad apple, as far as I'm concerned, although Deshaun Watson obviously has far, far more talent. He has more on the field upside, but his off the field downside is even worse than Baker's. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's just proof positive. If you can win a ball game, you can be forgiven a whole lot of sins.
You think he'll be in those Progressive commercials taking care of the ballpark? No? No chance of that, is there? Those days are over for Bake?
He might get a condom commercial.
Whoa. It's
a family show. Let's not forget it's a family.
Back off, boys.
I'm kidding. Just go.
But the Texans, they traded Deshaun Watson and a 6th round pick. I mean, that 6th round pick was very important for the Cleveland Browns to make this work. But they get the Texans get 3 first round picks, 1 3rd round pick, and 2 4th round picks from the Browns. I mean, a massive haul for the Texans. I mean, if you really want to say who maybe is the winner in this, they are.
Yep.
To a degree. Because again, I kind of like what you're all kind of saying. I'll echo. I think on the Brown side, just there's a lot of losers. They might end up winning, but like how you can within the Chris Mortensen came out with a report that they didn't like Mayfield's character and they wanted an adult under center. And it's a hard shot to come back from, but it's like, how can you talk about a guy's character and then take on a quarterback who has 22 civil suits that involve sexual misconduct? I don't. I just don't.
It's a sad situation, but
it really is.
And then on top of it too, Tony Busby, the lawyer for the 22 women, and this is actually a black mark on all these teams that were in it, because obviously there were 4 main ones, but none of them reached out to him for his client's perspective, which I understand. I mean, I don't know if I understand, but like, it's like, I don't know how all of them had similar stories where like they didn't corroborate. So like he's definitely, and again, we're not going to get too in the nitty gritty because I'm not strong enough, but like, I just think it's hard sell to, obviously the Cleveland Browns organization has many female employees. Obviously they might have a trainers who are female, or coaches, and possibly a masseuse, because all teams have masseuses. So like, what do you do in that situation? So anyway, kind of get back on, I guess, if we're just going to the football, I just wanted to at least address that part of it.
Absolutely.
The part that is mind-boggling in terms of how this fractured so many teams, because obviously the Colts were essentially able to get Matt Ryan because he got a little irked that they try to offload him, which is understandable. So like he ended up, but again, we've kind of already talked about the Baker thing. Both sides were wrong on it, because essentially they went after him, and then Baker, being immature, he got pissed and wrote a goodbye letter to Cleveland before he was traded or released, which is probably one of the most important things to do before you do a goodbye letter to a city, is to make sure you're not on the team anymore. So
that's kind of good. Yeah.
He did that. And initially, Watson rejected. He was out. He was down to the Falcons and Saints. So then they were like, well, we want to bring you back. And then Baker's like, no, I don't want to come back. Well, then that put them in such a bind that I think the reason, and obviously we'll never completely know, I think the reason that Watson took the Cleveland job is he also signed a 5-year, $230 million guaranteed contract.
Yep.
$80 million more than any other contract in history.
Yep.
That is the big, and I'm not saying, look, they have a very talented team. Of the 4 teams, the Saints had the best roster in comparison to Cleveland. It was really those two, because obviously Panthers are kind of a mess, and Atlanta is just total dumpster fire right now in terms of their roster. So I get that aspect, but it all comes down to the money. But it's just,
as long as he wins,
it won't matter.
He will be forgiven. He will be forgiven. That's just the way it is. Sadly, it's a business decision, moral, whatever, doesn't enter into it for these guys. Especially when you're throwing around a $250 million.
Crazy.
I mean, so this guy becomes the face of your organization.
Yep. Like Baker was.
If you don't win,
that's a big, yeah.
That'll be nasty.
Well, I'll just this will be my last thing on the Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Even if they do win, it's still a black mark on them that doesn't completely go away.
Oh yeah,
this isn't a small thing. Like this is always going to be. So.
On a more positive note here,
please.
Also, a winner this week, Allen Robinson gets to go to L.A. Come on, baby.
How about that?
Unless you're a diehard Bears fan, you have to say thank you, Allen, for putting up with bad coaching and everything, and still usually getting 1,000 yards a season. So, I'm happy for him.
Yep.
No, even diehard Bears fans, I think, are like, no, he deserves better. I really think so. I can't talk for J-Boy.
Yeah, no, losing has its own sympathies or something. I don't know what it is. How about your Devante Adams? Speaking of your wideouts, a little bit of a shocker, I think, but when you hear the story and see what happened, it makes some sense.
What does or who does Aaron Rodgers throw to now?
It'll be a rookie.
I mean, seriously,